Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of source material that really gets to the heart of one profoundly simple idea: how to stop fighting your own feelings.
Mm.
We're plunging into the core work of David R. Hawkins, specifically from his text, The Practice of Emotional Letting Go.
And this is fascinating stuff because it tackles modern stress,
Yeah.
head on, but the solution it offers feels almost ancient in its simplicity.
Right. So our mission for you, the learner, is to pull out a really simple, practical framework from all
A
this.
shortcut, really.
Exactly. A shortcut for handling those intense emotions without getting, bogged down in all the jargon or complexity that sometimes comes with this field.
Yeah, and to do that, we have to start with the central premise because it completely reframes where all that internal discomfort actually comes from.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So the book introduces this really surprising idea. It says that most of the suffering, the chronic stress, the fear, the anger, all of that grinding inner conflict we feel,
Yeah, the daily grind.
it doesn't actually start with the life events themselves. It's not the bad meeting or the market dip or that difficult relative that's causing the lasting pain.
Okay, so if it's not the event, then where is the true source?
It's your resistance to the emotions that those events create.
Our resistance.
We fight the feeling, we judge it, we try to push it down or wish it away. And Hawkins' whole point is that the fighting, that resistance itself, is the real source of the pain, not the initial trigger.
So if you can just accept that you're the one holding the door shut on your own feelings, you've pretty much grasped the entire framework.
You've got it. That's the whole game right there.
So following Hawkins' model, we start with this very straightforward, almost scientific view of emotions.
Yeah, they're just energy.
They're fundamentally energy. They aren't character flaws or, permanent parts of your personality. They're just energy in motion.
And because they're energy, they follow the laws of physics. If energy is in motion, it moves and then it dissipates.
But the resist.
The resistance acts like a massive dam. So when you suppress or fight a feeling, let's say it's intense fear about the future or some guilt from a mistake, that energy, it doesn't just evaporate.
It gets stuck.
It becomes what the text calls stuck energy.
Okay, that sounds a little abstract. How does that stuck energy actually show up in, say, a high-performing professional's life?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to hold a beach ball underwater all day.
Right. That takes a lot of effort.
A tremendous amount of silent, continuous effort. When you suppress fear, you don't actually feel less fear. You just divert a huge amount of your mental bandwidth into holding the fear down.
And that stuck energy is constantly draining your vitality.
Constantly. It influences your relationships because you're more defensive. It can compromise your health through chronic tension. And this is crucial. It slows down their success.
How so?
It shows up as procrastination or analysis paralysis or even, repetitive self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You might think you have a focus problem, but really you just have a backlog of unresolved emotional energy that's demanding your attention.
That distinction is so important. We think we're dealing with a tactical problem at work, but what you're saying is we're actually navigating a field of our own internal emotional landmines, which brings us to letting go. But I have to ask the common question here. Isn't letting go just giving up?
That's a crucial question, and it's the big misunderstanding. The critique is that it sounds passive, right? Like you're just throwing in the towel.
Exactly.
But Hawkins insists it's the opposite. Letting go is not giving up on your goals. It is the active release of the internal friction that's stopping you from reaching those goals efficiently. You're intentionally dissolving the block.
So practically speaking, what does letting go actually look like?
It's about allowing a feeling to be completely present, sort of like a wave in the ocean. You let that wave of frustration or anxiety just arrive.
And you don't immediately react to it.
You don't label it bad, and you definitely don't start building a big dramatic story around why you're feeling that way.
You just let it exist.
You just let it exist. And when you do that, the energy isn't being resisted anymore, so it starts to dissolve on its own. It flows out instead of getting trapped inside. And the real beauty of this work is its simplicity. The book offers this incredibly systematic, four-step technique you can use right away anytime an intense emotion comes up.
Yeah.
It takes away the need for, heavy, time-consuming psychoanalysis.
I really appreciate that. It gives you a mechanism, a sort of ritual, instead of just saying, oh, just be happier.
Right.
So what are the 4 steps we need to integrate?
Okay, so step 1 is just awareness. Notice the emotion. It could be anger, guilt, shame, sadness, just name it. Step 2 is where the real work begins. Allow it fully.
Okay, wait. Allow it full. That's easy to say. But for someone listening who is trained to solve problems, how do they allow an uncomfortable feeling without feeling like they're just quitting or collapsing? How do we make that actionable?
You focus on the physical sensation. Allowing it fully means recognizing where that emotion actually lives in your body.
Ah.
Is it a knot in your stomach? A tightness in your chest?
Mm-hmm.
Tension in your jaw? You find that physical sensation and you just commit to letting it be there right now without trying to fix it.
I see. So you're moving out of your analytical mind and into your physical body.
Exactly. Which leads right into step 3, which is the crucial part. Do not suppress it, do not label it, and do not react to it.
Okay, break those down.
Suppressing is just pushing it down. Labeling is when you turn a feeling into an identity. You go from, I feel anger, to, I am an angry person.
Which locks the energy in place.
It does. And reacting is, hitting reply all when you're furious. Yeah. You have to bypass all 3 of those automatic responses.
And the final step is simply staying present with the feeling until it releases. I think the brilliance here is the expectation. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to explain it. You don't even have to act on it.
You just have to witness it.
Yeah.
And this is where a little bit of internal dialogue can really help. When that wave of panic or irritation hits, you can just internally say to yourself, I allow this feeling to be here.
Mm.
That simple phrase just cuts off the resistance loop immediately.
Mm.
It gives the emotion the temporary permission it needs to finish its cycle.
And the detail about timing is what I find staggering. We tend to think that emotional recovery takes days or weeks.
It does when you resist it. But the source material is very clear on this. When emotions are not resisted, when they're truly allowed to flow, they often pass completely within minutes.
Minutes.
The core energy of a feeling is transient. It's the story and the resistance we attach to it that makes it feel permanent.
Yeah.
Just think of how much time you spend worrying about a problem that never even happens.
Right.
That whole time was just sustained by resistance.
That concept, the idea of an emotion passing in minutes, is transformative, especially for high achievers who are usually moving too fast to even notice they're resisting.
Mm-hmm.
So since our goal here is actionable knowledge, let's translate this philosophy into daily muscle memory. What are the 5 immediate applications we can start using?
The goal here is really consistency. We want to move from just occasional crisis management to continuous emotional intelligence.
Okay, application 1. Let's start with the basics. Practice emotional awareness.
This is just building a simple habit. Pausing once or twice a day,
Right.
when you start your computer or before a meal, and just honestly asking yourself, what am I feeling right now?
And the purpose isn't therapeutic journaling or anything like that.
No, not at all. The purpose is strictly pattern interruption. No fixing, no judging, just noticing. This single habit builds the emotional muscle you need to catch unconscious reactions before they hijack your behavior.
Okay, application 2 builds directly on that. Allowance without resistance.
Right. So when a powerful feeling comes up, you let it be there, you feel it physically in your body, and, this is the key, you actively avoid attaching a story to it.
The story is the resistance amplifier.
It's the biggest blocker for most people, yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel tense and you say, I feel tense because my coworker is incompetent and is threatening my promotion, well, you've just added a whole narrative that justifies holding on to the tension.
Ah, okay.
But if you simply say, there is tension in my chest, and you allow it, the relief follows so much more quickly.
So the goal isn't to solve the problem of the coworker in that moment.
Not yet.
The goal is to stop making the internal tension worse by justifying it.
Exactly. You're separating the event from your reaction. You can deal with the coworker later from a clear head, but first you have to dissolve the emotional charge that would otherwise lead to an aggressive, poorly thought out response.
Application 3. This one's tough for high performers. Release the need to control outcomes.
It is. Because when you're driven, you often equate extreme effort and micromanagement with success. But that's where so much energy is wasted.
We attach our self-worth to things we can't really control.
Yes. The actions of others, the market, the perfect result. Hawkins says you should identify your common attachments, the need to be right, the desire for praise, the need to control people, and actively loosen your grip.
For someone listening who sees control as a survival mechanism, how do they justify letting go of that tension? What's the benefit?
You shift your whole definition of effort. The text makes it clear. Success improves when your effort comes from a place of clarity and efficiency, not from internal tension and force.
Tension is not effort.
Tension is resistance. Action taken from a state of peace is just cleaner, and it's measurably more effective.
That reframes the entire work ethic. Which leads perfectly into application 4. Let go before responding.
This is huge for anyone in a leadership role.
Or any relationship, really.
Absolutely. This is the pause technique in practice. Before you fire off that angry email, before you interrupt someone in a conflict, before you offer a defensive reply, you just pause.
You create a buffer zone.
Yes. And in that little window, you apply the letting go technique. You notice the spike of anger, allow the sensation, and release the immediate impulse to act on it. Then your response comes from your clear, intelligent self, not your immediate reactive self.
And application 5, finally, frames this whole thing as a success habit, not just a way to feel better.
Right. Instead of just pushing harder when the pressure hits, you look inside for the block. You realize that action taken from peace is more effective than action taken from pressure.
So letting go of the fear of failure, or releasing the need for approval, or dissolving self-doubt
is the most productive thing you can do.
So instead of grinding through self-doubt, you release the energy of the doubt itself, and then you take the action.
Precisely. You're removing the 50-pound vest before you even attempt the marathon. You're just eliminating the internal weight that makes everything else harder than it needs to be. And when you keep up this daily practice of emotional allowance and release, the long-term changes, they go way beyond just feeling calmer. They integrate into your fundamental operating system.
You mentioned decision-making earlier. How does this practice specifically lead to better decisions?
It just removes all the noise. Every unresolved emotional anxiety, recent anger, suppressed guilt. It acts like a distortion field on your perception. When you release that resistance, your cognitive clarity improves dramatically. You start making decisions based on data and true intent, not based on, protecting yourself from some old, unreleased fear.
That translates immediately to better professional outcomes. What about resilience?
You build significantly higher resilience and faster recovery from setbacks. The stressful events will still happen, life is still life, but the emotional tail gets cut dramatically short.
So instead of spending 3 days replaying a mistake in your head,
the energy of that disappointment might pass in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that allows you to move immediately into solution mode.
That speed of recovery has to cultivate a kind of genuine, calm confidence. It moves you away from needing external validation or being so defensive all the time.
It does. It shifts your whole approach to growth. You stop trying to generate success through external force, all that pushing and striving and exhaustion. And instead, success becomes an inevitable outcome of internal flow, of clarity, and of ease.
It's the difference between working with the current and constantly fighting the tide.
And that's how you get sustainable growth without the burnout.
That was a deep dive. The framework we've extracted today is it's really powerful. The core insight is that resistance is the true source of our emotional cages. When we stop fighting the feelings stop holding us hostage.
Clarity emerges when the fighting ends.
Exactly.
So as you reflect on this and move into your day, I'll leave you with this really profound line from the source material. When you let go of what weighs you down, what you're meant to carry becomes lighter.
Think about the weight you've been carrying. What is the one emotional story you can stop resisting right now? What happens when you commit to acting from a place of clarity and flow instead of tension and force? Until next time, keep allowing and keep letting go.